Hello and welcome to Froch on Fighting. My name is Carl Froch. I'm a former super middleweight unified boxing champion and International Boxing Hall of Famer. I'm a little bit put off because my wife's here behind the camera.
You nearly got that wrong, didn't you?
I nearly got it wrong. I got it right in the end now, didn't I? Thought about it and corrected it. I'm struggling to concentrate. Rachel's not in front of the camera today because she's naked.
Oh my God.
What, do you want me to tell them that? So yeah, it's just going to keep me smiling throughout this whole episode, which is brought to you by Cobra Casino. So it's been an absolutely crazy 48 hours in the boxing world with announcements, cancellations, more announcements, and then you don't know whether you're coming or going. I did a video with Terence Crawford. He's fighting Canelo Alvarez. Great fight, looking forward to it. It's going to be September in Las Vegas. And then all of a sudden, the fight's off and Jake Paul's name gets thrown in the mix. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? ESPN actually announced that Jake Paul will be fighting Canelo Alvarez. What date was that? I think it was May 3rd in Las Vegas. I mean, what's going on? Is he really going to jump in and hijack professional boxing? Probably the biggest fight in the last, let's say the last 10 years. Canelo Alvarez fighting Terence Crawford is a proper fight between two real boxers. And then Jake Paul's name gets chucked in the mix. I bet he was absolutely buzzing, loving life, wasn't he? Messing up a proper fight, thinking he's going to get the opportunity to jump in with someone like Canelo Alvarez. And he'll get battered as well, by the way. But thankfully, that's not happening. But it's been mad. Eddie Hearn even went on there and said, Jake Paul is fighting Canelo Alvarez. And I was thinking, what the fuck? I mean, it's a one-round job for Canelo, let's be honest. But thankfully, that's not happening. Canelo Alvarez seems to have signed, is it a 4-5 fight deal? I think it's a 4-fight deal with the first fight taking place in May, I believe. He's still set to fight Terence Crawford in his second fight in September, which I'm really, really happy about. But it's just been absolutely mad. I don't understand why Jake Paul's managed to slip his way in and potentially sign a deal with Netflix. It'd be a multi-million-pound deal, probably hundreds of millions of pounds on Netflix for fake Paul to jump in there with Canelo Alvarez. I'm so glad it's not happening because he don't deserve that shot and it'd be a total mismatch, waste of time anyway. But it now looks like Turki Alalshikh has pulled the rabbit out of the hat and done a 4-fight deal with Canelo Alvarez, which is exciting. He's going to have a mark time fight in May. Then he's got a big fight with Crawford in September. And then we'll look forward to the next 2 fights after that. But boxing is looking like it's being saved by the Saudis and by Riyadh season. So let's just see what unfolds.
So let's break it all down properly. Canelo versus Jake Paul. What did you make of this? And did you think it would actually happen?
No, I didn't. I didn't think. I mean, if you're going to break it down, you're going to say, is Canelo really going to step in the ring with Jake Paul, or is fake Paul actually going to grow a set of bollocks and jump in with somebody who can actually fight, especially after the Mike Tyson fiasco, because he made no friends, did he, in that fight against Mike Tyson, beating up an old man. Even though it did look like he took his time a bit towards the end, because I think he realised if he starts punching in an old boy Mike Tyson, if he starts punching his head in, it's going to look terrible for him. But I personally didn't think the fight was ever going to happen in the first place anyway. I mean, can you envisage Jake Paul stepping in with Canelo Alvarez? Canelo's been in there with likes of Miguel Cotto, Floyd Mayweather. He's had 3 fights with Gennady Golovkin. This is an elite level fighter. Callum Smith, he was world champion from Britain. And Caleb Plant, Jamel Charlo, them sort of names. Golovkin 3 times, I might have even already said that, draw and a couple of wins. But when you're looking at that level of opposition, that calibre, and then you compare that with fake Paul losing to Tommy Fury. No disrespect to Tommy Fury, but he's not really a professional boxer. He is a professional boxer because he's licensed, but he's not even of British title level. And we've seen what Canelo does with elite level fighters. He destroys them. Okay, he's got the loss to Floyd Mayweather, but that's Floyd Mayweather. He's also got the loss to Dmitry Bivol, who's a top class fighter. I mean, he's got a rematch with Beterbiev coming up, but he's mixed it with the best of the best. He's performed against the best and he beats and irons out the best in the world, doesn't he? That's what that's his level. So for him to jump in with Jake Paul, it'd be great to see Jake Paul absolutely obliterated in a round, because that's what Canelo could do. He could go in there and just absolutely smash fake Paul's head in a round. And that's why I thought this fight probably won't happen, because that will be the end of fake Paul. But there would have been a little win for him, wouldn't there? If he'd have got in there with the face of boxing, the best in the business, in the biggest money fight, it was reportedly going to be hundreds of millions with Netflix. I mean, for me, it's ridiculous, it's ludicrous, and it's pathetic, and it's not even a realistic boxing match. But thankfully, that is now not happening.
I bet he was excited though, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Jake Paul would have been absolutely buzzing, from TikTok dancing and whatever he does, all that nonsense, to jumping in with the best fighter in the world. The only problem is with that though, he'd get absolutely battered. He wouldn't have a chance, so it'd be a mismatch. So I'm not surprised the fight's not happened.
So was this a publicity stunt then from Canelo's side, do you think?
Listen, if it was a publicity stunt and Canelo's played an absolute blinder because he pulls out the Crawford fight and we think to ourselves, oh shit, the Crawford fight's not happening. That's a great fight. I mean, Crawford's going to have his challengers coming up to super middleweight, £168, but it can be done. But yeah, with that not happening, and everyone's pissed off and gutted and thinking, oh, why is this? I mean, the other side to it. So yeah, it could have been a publicity stunt and a really good one, because Turki Alalshikh's now negotiated with Canelo, and they had their little bit of back and forth. Then they had a little pull and a push, Cobra style. But you know, they've done a deal now. So he's got a 4-fight deal, probably hundreds of millions. So if Canelo was sort of playing a little blinder, then it's a real good one he's played, because now he's in a position where he's got 4 fights. The first one I think is a mark time fight, like I said earlier, in May. Then he's fighting Terence Crawford in September. I think we've even got a date. Is it early September 13th maybe? I think that fight's officially being announced. So that's happening, which is great news. But Fake Paul and his manager Nikisa and all the team must be absolutely gutted, because that would have been a mega money fight, but it was potentially signing his own death warrant. Jumping in with something like Canelo, that would have been dangerous, because come on, Fake Paul cannot jump in with one of the best fighters in the world to ever do it. It'd be a fucking mismatch, and I'm glad it's not happening, because he does not deserve it. But in all seriousness, if Canelo would have took the fight with Jake Paul, I don't think that would have been a good look for him. This would have been potentially a little tarnish on his legacy, because all right, if it's at the very end of his career, which obviously we know he's in his twilight years, 35 years old, I know he's fighting a 37-year-old Crawford, but that aside, he's at the end of his career, over 60 fights, fought everybody, and he's a bona fide Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to do it. He's not even a generational great, he's probably he is an all-time great. He's up there with the all-time list. So for him to jump in with someone like Fake Paul and just obliterate him, just for the old Bunsen burner, and he's got plenty of that, let's be honest, he's made a fortune, he's got to be worth a couple of $100 million, Canelo. He's absolutely smashed it. He's got that Mexican heart and blood and that soul, that fighting soul. I can understand him retiring and finishing and then maybe jumping in with a Jake Paul later on after he's been out the ring a couple of years. But whilst he's still an active fighter, at the end of his career, and he can be involved in really big, solid fights that people want to see, like the Crawford fight, you don't want to see him in there mixing it with Fake Paul, pissing around, having an exhibition. I don't think he'd take a little bit of a backhander to go easy on him. It certainly wouldn't take a dive and lose. That wouldn't happen like what Mike Tyson did. But it just wouldn't be good to see him in there with Fake Paul. It's just a waste of time. It does good business.
It's dangerous for Jake Paul.
It's very dangerous. I mean, that's another interesting point, Rach, because if Canelo would have gone in there and absolutely ironed out Jake Paul, as much as we all want to see it, imagine if he'd done some serious damage, if he beat him up for a few rounds and then knocked him out and caused some proper damage, which can happen in boxing. It happens too regular. And if Canelo would have gone in there and just flattened him and badly damaged him, like done some serious lasting damage, then that would have been bad for Canelo. So I'm glad the fight's not happening. It's done Jake Paul a favour, let's be honest. As good to do as it'll be, and as much as he would have been gloating on the build-up saying, I'm involved in the biggest fight in boxing, I'm not even well, he does call himself a professional boxer, but he's not a real professional boxer, is he? For him to be involved in the biggest fight in world boxing, it's a fucking insult to real professionals, and it's taking the piss out of the sport I love and cherish, and I'm still involved in because I love it so much. So piss off Jake Paul, and I'm glad the fight's not happening. Canelo Alvarez now has got a 4-fight deal, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, so it's all looking official. You've got Turki Alalshikh on X, the old Twitter, putting out announcements that he's excited about these fights that are happening. We know Canelo's fighting in May. We don't know who he's fighting yet, but we know all paths from that one lead to September with Crawford, which is the fight that we've all been excited for, proper boxing match. And you've got Canelo on Twitter as well. You've also got Terence Crawford sending messages out about it. So it's all official, it's all announced. I don't think there'll be any last minute cancellations or any changes, because Turki Alalshikh, fair play to him, he doesn't like this crossover stuff anyway. I had a sit down with him, which you've seen on one of my previous episodes on Froch on Fighting, the best channel in the business. I've had a good chat with him off camera, and he says he expressed his dislike for the crossover boxing and Fake Paul Canelo would be massively disliked by Turkey. So he's put a stop to it. That's finished. That's gone now. Jake Paul can go and cry a river now. Nikisa and Helwani, they can all sit together and have a little cry around the campfire while the proper boxers get on with the real juicy stuff. The real fighters can get in there and give the real boxing fans some treats, and we're looking forward to it. But yeah, it's official. Hopefully I won't be retracting this video soon. And the last video with Canelo and Crawford is still on, so take a look at the preview for that. I think that's going to be a tough job for Terence Crawford, but how exciting. And again, fair play, Turki Alalshikh. You pulled it out of the bag, didn't you? So we know Canelo Alvarez is fighting in May. We don't know who. It's probably going to be a bit of a mark time fight. Maybe one of the Charlo brothers. Who knows? It's going to get the start of the deal rolling in here in May. In September, we know he's fighting Terence Crawford. Big fight, proper fight. A fight that we expect him to get through because of the sheer size of him. But Terence Crawford, don't write him off. Undefeated, top fighter, all-time great. Again, this is a pound for pound fight between two of the best in the business to do it. And then February, the names that have been chucked in the mix are Dimitri Bivol, Hamza Shiraz and Chris Eubank Jr. I kind of don't get the Shiraz and the Eubank Jr. ones, because Hamza Shiraz obviously fighting Carlos Adamas in February for a world title. If he looks good there, and this is an incentive for these fighters, not so much Bivol, because he's got a job to deal with Beterbiev, a tough one. But Hamza Shiraz looks good against Carlos Adamas, then maybe people start to look at that as a realistic fight. He's tall, he's big, he can bang a bit, he's rangy. But Chris Eubank Jr., I don't just want to piss on Chris Eubank Jr.'s parade, but he's done fuck all, has he? He's already been beat, he's 36, he's got to get past Conor Benn as well. And if he does scrape past Conor Benn or win that fight or lose, I mean, this could be the end of Chris Eubank Jr. I don't see how he jumps in with Canelo Alvarez. I just don't get that. That for me, let me know in the comments if you think that fight makes sense. Chris Eubank Jr., Canelo Alvarez, for me, it don't make any sense, but I don't know. What do I know? But they're the three names that are being mentioned. I'd like to see Benavidez, David Benavidez. He's been tapping on the door for Canelo, and there's people in my comments saying, hang on a minute, when you mentioned Canelo, you never mentioned David Benavidez. And this is a fighter now who's up at light heavyweight, and if Canelo's on about fighting the winner for the rematch for Bivol against Beterbiev, it'll be a rematch with him and Bivol, because he's obviously lost to him. But if Bivol gets beat by Beterbiev, how are we saying his name? Beterbiev. So that's a fight we'd want to see. And if he's up at light heavyweight, why not have a fight with Benavidez? But anyway, I'm just chucking names out there. I'm thinking out loud. But yeah, the first one in May, second one's a big one in September, then February. Out of them three, I think it's going to be a light heavyweight fight. So for me, it should be Benavidez or maybe after the Bivol fight or the Beterbiev fight. I mean, the Beterbiev against Canelo Alvarez, for me, that's a juicy fight. But one thing's for sure, boxing is looking great. And for Canelo to end his career on this kind of a run and give us some juicy fights to finish it off on, I mean, it's just fantastic. It's amazing. I'm really, really excited for where the sport's now going. So,
out of those three fighters you've just mentioned, who would you like to see Canelo fight the most?
I think out of them three, if Dimitri Bivol does the business against Beterbiev, which is a tough ask, but listen, it's a close fight, so it could go either way. I'd like to see him fight the winner of Beterbiev-Bivol, more so the Bivol rematch, because that first fight was, I say it was close. It was in the fight, won it for 12 rounds, but a lot would argue that's not close. I've mentioned Benavidez, but he's not in this conversation at the minute. So whoever wins out of Beterbiev-Bivol, that's who I want Canelo to fight. And Hamza Shiraz, great talent, fantastic talent, tall, rangy, can throw a good right hand. He can punch hard enough to command respect of anyone. But the problem with that is he's at middleweight, and he's sort of at the start of his career. I know he's British champ, etc. And he's done it the traditional way, which is great. So he's got that apprentice and that experience. But to jump in there with somebody up at light heavyweight who's fought at light heavyweight for quite a while, and he's been up and down the division, and Canelo, but he's a big, strong, let's say he's a big, strong super middleweight who can also campaign at light heavyweight at a good level. For Shiraz to jump straight in there with him, I think it's a dangerous fight for him. I'd rather see him build, but it would be a year away. It's a year away actually today, isn't it? It's February 25. We're talking about Feb 26. So if Hamza Shiraz does the business against Carlos Adamas, and then gets a couple of defences, even one defence, and looks good, who knows? I mean, this would be a changing of the guard, wouldn't it? If Hamza Shiraz can jump in with Canelo Alvarez February next year and beat him, What a fantastic win that would be, but what a sad way for Canelo to go out. But that's boxing, isn't it? Father time waits for no man. So yeah, it's the winner of Beterbiev Bivol or Hamza Shiraz. And I'll be honest, I'm not taking the Chris Eubank Jr. fight really very seriously. I'm not giving that much credibility. I'm just looking forward to him fighting Conor Benn and then probably sailing off into the sunset with a big old bit of Bunsen burner. I think that's all he's doing. He's just in the game to get paid. And I don't think the Canelo fight really is realistic for him. And he's also got the final fight, which is October 2026. And to be honest, it's pretty much pointless mentioning who, because in 18 months, anything can happen. The landscape can totally change. But that will be his fourth and final fight as part of this Riyadh season card that he's doing. But you tell me, let me know in the comments, October 2026, who does Canelo Alvarez jump in with at that time? So that's it for another episode of Froch on fighting. It's been a mad 48 hours. Canelo Alvarez, I think, has played a blinder and he's got rid of you-know-who. Who will laugh. Everyone in the boxing world's laughing in the background. I'm not going to mention his name. Hopefully I'll never have to mention his name again. But yeah, Canelo Alvarez, what a guy, what a businessman he is. Either him or his team. 1 minute he's not fighting, then he's fighting. Now he's signed a 4-fight deal, part of Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia. Turki Alalshikh put up the old Bunsen burner and Canelo is smashing it. Well done to him, and he'll have an absolutely amazing finish to his career. Thanks for all the comments. Let me know what you thought of today's show. Give me the questions. I go through them meticulously. I enjoy it. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and we'll see you next time.